Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the Medium in the Middle. On this podcast, I share my journey as a developing psychic medium, as a Reiki master teacher, as an Akashic record practitioner, and anything else that's thrown my way. Hello, Middlers. Hello. Welcome to episode 172. A psychic goes to Vegas. Ooh. If you are a new listener, hello. My name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle, and I tell my entire story from episode 1 of how I discovered that I was a medium and when all of this started happening to me about 6 years ago now. Some people find listening from episode 1 really helps you in your journey, wherever you are in your mediumship development or spiritual awakening. But if you are a middler, welcome back. There was no episode last week because I was away on vacation. I have a goal to travel once every quarter this year and do something. So Q2 was Vegas. My cousin said, "Hey Steph, do you want to go to Vegas?" And I said, "Sure." So we went and I learned a lot. I was actually really worried about going because I went to Vegas about 10 years ago, but I had no idea. I was an intuitive at that time and nothing was going on. I was young. We didn't plan anything. I went when it was cold. And this time after I booked it, I was like, what did I sign myself up for? How am I going to manage this? What's going to happen? So I'm going to share with you that. So I have 3 big things that I learned in Vegas to share with you on this episode. But before we get into that, let's pull a card. And this week's card pull is from the Kyle Gray Angel Guide deck. As a reminder, I always pull the card and say, what do the listeners need to know whenever you're listening to this podcast, whether it's in May 2023 or anytime you listen. So the card that I pulled for today was Divine Timing. Life is always unfolding in the perfect time, space, and sequence. So angel wisdom is encouraging you to move into a state of trust, knowing that good things are always unfolding for you. You may find yourself feeling impatient and unsettled, but instead of letting your ego and imagination pull you into a downward spiral, trust that your prayers are being answered and your plans are coming to fruition in a way that is meeting your needs rather than your wants. You may feel that your prayers aren't being answered or that your hopes aren't being realized, but you must know that the universe and your angels are always working towards the highest good and the outcome that will best serve you. When this card appears, trust the process. Ooh, trust the process. A good reminder today. I love pulling oracle cards. I am trying to learn the tarot. And I started and I took a course and I was doing my notes and practicing, so I need to get back to that. But I love an oracle pull. So I hope that resonates with you. If you need it, leave it if you don't. But this brings us to announcements. I just have one announcement. I am hosting a live workshop virtually, Reiki and Chakras 101 on June 4th. It's a 75-minute workshop all about Reiki and your chakras. So you will learn about your own energy, what different areas of the body mean what, learning about how your body holds energy, learning how you can work with your own energy. This course is really great if you're maybe not ready for Reiki level 1, or if you're not ready for a full Reiki course, but you still want to learn about your own energy. I love presenting this at the Banff Wellness Retreat. It's always the best attended one of my workshops. People love it. This is also pulled directly from my Reiki course. So it's a great introduction to understanding your energy. If you're interested in joining me on June 4th, it's only $33 Canadian. I'll leave the link down below in the show notes so you can register. And if you can't make it live, it does include a copy of the replay that is sent to everybody registered, so you can either join us live or catch the replay. So a psychic went to Vegas. Woohoo! Did I come back with a ton of money? Stay to the end of the episode to find out. But I have 3 big things that I want to talk about and share with you today because they're all good fun and part of the story. So the first thing was boundaries. Obviously, going to a very busy place like Vegas, I knew that my boundaries were going to be tested and there were going to be a lot of crowds and I'd be close to people and I was sharing a space with my cousin for a few days. So I did as much as I could in advance. So I did a lot of distance Reiki. I did a lot of set it and forget it if you are a Reiki 2 student for the future. I did as much as I could before I got places. So I would Reiki the area in advance. I'd Reiki myself. And I was very, very, very surprised that I was fine. The first few days were fine, and I think too we were doing so much walking. We were so tired by the end of the night, I just passed out because sometimes I have a hard time falling asleep at night. If there's a lot of spirits or if I've picked up a lot of energy throughout the day. But it was actually really good. I was good at not tuning in. Even my cousin was like, "Oh, I was sure like our grandma would show up." And I kind of laughed and I was like, "Girl, my boundaries for this trip are rock solid. They are vaulted like a bank vault. Like there is no cracks, there is no inches. I am letting nothing in during this trip." And she was joking with me. She's like, "You need a good podcast episode. Come on, someone has to have someone passed away. What about this guy?" And I was just like, "No, I'm not even checking. I'm not even tuning in. Like I'm not even opening the floodgates." So it was a really good lesson for me about boundaries and really made me feel good about crowds. But on day number 3, it all went downhill. And I was reflecting on that and I was thinking, like, what happened on day 3 that was different? I was like, I was fine day 1, I was fine day 2, and then day 3, I had to like get up in the middle of the night and shower. I was soaking my feet. I was clearing. I was raking myself. I was like, oh no, like what did I pick up? What did I tune into? And I realized day 3 was the only time that I touched strangers. So we went to a show that was interactive, and some of the performers like touched you. They'd sit on your lap. There was like group pictures. So I was being touched, and then we were out at the casino, and we met this married couple, and we were talking to them for a while. They had just gotten married, and for some reason, before they left, they hugged us. And you guys know how I feel about hugs, but she was already leaning in, and I did like barely touch her, but still, we half hugged. So that was the only difference that I could think of. And when I go out here in Banff, I think it's like such a small town in a small space. I do probably touch people, like maybe you brush shoulders, you run into them on the dance floor. So when I come home, I have that kind of same reaction that I did on day 3. But in Vegas, I was fine. And then I was like, oh my gosh. So I think my boundaries are only really affected when I'm touching people. Because when I didn't touch anybody for 2 days, I was okay. So that was really good to know for myself and just seeing like what the difference was. And that makes sense. I mean, I can get a lot more information when I touch people. I can get a lot more accurate information when I touch people. That's why I like to work through Reiki, because as soon as I touch your body, it's a lot easier to connect to your energy. So it makes sense that if I randomly bump shoulders with you, or if we're standing in a tight line or anything like that, I'm taking on more energy than I would be. So very interesting learning about my boundaries. But other than that, I was fine. I didn't feel overwhelmed. I like shut down for spirit and energy. There was nothing. Me and my cousin didn't even talk about anything really spiritual or woo-woo, so we weren't even in that really realm of things. We weren't talking to strangers about like what I do. No one asked what I do for work, so that was also great. So it was just like a complete shutdown, it felt like. So that was the first thing that I learned in Vegas, which was good to know. And then this led to number 2, which also is linked to number 3 that I want to share. The week before I left, I had a dream that I won money in Vegas. And I was like, that's weird. I wasn't even going to gamble. So I woke up the one day and I was like, I had a dream that I won money in Vegas. And I told a few of my friends like as a joke. And I was like, I literally wasn't even going to gamble. And then a few days later, I had the dream again. And I was like, am I just having this dream because maybe I'm thinking about Vegas, people are talking about gambling, or am I having this dream because I'm psychic? And sometimes my dreams are very future predictive. So in the dream, I won off of the number 4. So there was like 4 somewhere physically on the machine. So the number 4 was on the machine. So I didn't know if that like meant there was 4 in the name, or if like, you know how the machines say how much they pay out, if it was like 4 of that. And I also like won on the number 4. So like $4, $44, $40, $4,000, $400, $44,000. So obviously I shot for the sky and I was like, I'm going to win $44,000. I had 2 dreams about it. And the machine that I saw in my dream was purple and black. So I was like, I'm going to win $44,000. And I was like, if I know anything, I know how to manifest. So I'm going to start calling this in. And I always knew in the back of my head that I wasn't going to win $44,000. Mainly because, actually a few things. Number 1, I didn't really want it. And I was thinking about like, what happens if you win? How do you pay taxes? How do I bring it back? Do they give you cash? I don't want to travel with all that cash. Then I was thinking like me and my cousin could go on a shopping spree, but then do I have to bring the rest of the cash home? That would be weird. I don't feel safe. Like there was like all these things that my mind instantly went to. And I was like, this just seems like a big headache. I don't even want to win $44,000. But in my mind, I was like, no, I'm going to call it in and, going. So then I talked to my other friend who's also very psychic. And I was like, so I had 2 dreams that I go to Vegas and I win money. She's like, ooh, she's like, I feel that for you. She's like, go win. She was like, you need to learn that, like, you don't have to work hard for money. She's like, money comes easy. She's like, you need to learn that. And I was like, yeah, I do need to learn that. But, I don't know. I was like, it's on the number 4. So I'm hoping for 44,000. And she was like, okay, like, have fun. She's like, but don't spend too much money to make it. And I was like, no, I'm like, in my dream, I was only holding 2 $20 bills. I was like, so I think I also have to like feed the machine a 20 twice, or I'll win off of one of them. But I was like, I was only holding 2 20s in my dream. And that's also something I would never do. So number 1, I wasn't even going to gamble, like maybe $5 or $10. Number 2, I would never feed a 20 into the machine. That's a lie. Once on my 19th birthday, so I'm from Windsor, Ontario, and in Windsor we have a big casino. And it was tradition way back in the day when I turned 19 that at 12:01 on your birthday, so like midnight, right after midnight, when you would have just turned your birthday, you go to the casino. So you wait in line, and right at midnight, you show them your ID because you would have just turned 19 a minute ago, and then they let you in. It was either that day or the time that I went with my friend, I did put a $20 in the machine. I'm like, I'm just going to spend $20. I made $100. So in my mind, I've been up $80 my whole life. I'm not a gambler. And I don't know if this is a limiting belief or just a reality, but I also don't win things. Like I don't win raffles. I don't get chosen on Instagram things. I've never won things in my life. I think I've won like one thing in my whole life. So I don't buy things because I know I never win. So I just never buy tickets for anything that's a draw. I'm lucky in a lot of other ways, but just winning things is not my forte. So anyway, so then I was telling my cousin this, and I said, hey, listen, I think I'm going to win. I'm hoping to win $44,000. It's not going to be till the 3rd day, though, on Wednesday. So if I do win, we're going on a shopping spree. I'm just telling you so that I can manifest. We're going to go buy whatever we want after I win. She was like, okay, cool, cuz. We'll do that. So when we get to Vegas, I'm telling her that we're going to win on Wednesday. And she's like, I think it's at the Bellagio. And I was like, I think it's at the Bellagio too. And I was like, in my dream, it was a purple and black machine. And when I was in Vegas, I also wanted to buy a pair of designer sunglasses. When I go away on vacation, I like to buy myself little gifts. And this was my reward for March being my biggest month in business ever, ever, ever. So I was celebrating and I was going to buy myself a pair of designer sunglasses. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy them on Wednesday because Wednesday is the day I'm winning my money. So I'll come back to the designer story. So we go and we're like, she said, I think it's going to be at the Bellagio. And I say, I think so too. So we go to the Bellagio. It's Wednesday night. I'm like, today's the day. I have my 220s out. I said, we have to find the purple and black machine. So we were walking around, and what's one of the first machines that we find is a purple and black machine that has the number 4 in the name. And I should have taken a photo, but it was called 4 something, like literally the number 4. They didn't spell it out like FOUR. It had the number 4 in the name. And up until this point, I didn't even consider that it could be in the name. I was thinking it was just going to be on the screen. Like you could win $4,400, you could win $4,000 or $10,400. Like it was going to say 4 somewhere on the machine. But it was actually in the name and it was purple and black. And I looked at my cousin and I said, "This is the machine." She said, "Yes, it is." And there's 2 other machines like it. So I walked to all the machines and I sway tested, "Is this the machine? Is this the machine?" But it was the first one. So I went back to the first one and I slid in my 20. I said, "Okay, here we go." And I'm ticking the machine, I lose some. Ticking the machine, I lose some. And I had 3 more, it was like a penny slot or something. I had 3 more slaps of the dial, or 3 more times you hit the button. I don't know any gambling speak. But I essentially had enough credit that I could hit the button 3 more times. So I go to hit the button, and I think I won 10 cents. And then I hit the button again, and then it's going and going. I'm like, I won. And it went to $4.40. And I looked at my cousin, and I said, $4.40. And I took it as a good sign about my dream, $4.40. I had 1 slap left. I was thinking like, oh my gosh, this is a sign like the big money's coming. She looked at me like, oh my God, your dream is correct. You just won $4.40. And I slapped the button 1 more time and lost it all. But the dream came true because I won $4.40 on a 20. So that's my story. It wasn't 44,000, but it was 440. So, you can always hope for the best. We had a good laugh and we had a fun time gambling. So that's what it's all about. Which brings me to my last part of the story. So this is more about intuition and sway testing. So at the start of the trip, I knew I wanted to buy designer sunglasses, and obviously there's the designer stores everywhere. That was going to be my treat to myself. So on the first day when we were doing some shopping, we were going into the stores and I was trying on some sunglasses. Now, the first designer store we went into, me and my cousin weren't nervous, but like we weren't dressed that nicely. We were, walking around Vegas, and you never know what you're going to get when you walk into these type of stores. So we walk in and there was these 2 ladies there and they said, "Hi, like, how are you?" Like, they were actually really nice. They greeted us. And then they were both like, "Oh, we really like your art. Like nice tattoos." And obviously I have my new tattoo on my arm, which was covered in sunscreen, so it looked like it was glistening. And my cousin has lots of tattoos as well. She has a full sleeve and she has some on her leg, and they were like, "Nice weenie." She has a little weenie dog on her leg. So we were like, "Oh, thank you." And then we were like talking about tattoos with them. And then they were asking us where we were from. And we were literally just like talking, but like a genuine conversation. Like it didn't seem fake. It didn't seem forced. It wasn't like, "Oh, how's the weather?" It was just like talking about tattoos. And then I don't know what else we were talking about. Like we were having such a deep conversation that eventually I was like, "Oh, I actually like want to try on some sunglasses." So we were trying on sunglasses and I found a pair that I really, really liked. And then I was like, "Okay, I really like these. Like they're a top contender, but I want to keep looking because today's the first day and this is the first store we walked into." So then we walked over and we were looking at the bags, and then there was this one gorgeous bag, and she was like, "Do you want to try it on?" And I was like, "No, me trying on bags is dangerous." And then of course I tried it on. And then I was like, "Okay, you know what? If I win big money on Wednesday, like we're coming back for this bag." So anyways, there's designer stores everywhere. There's the same designer stores everywhere. So I decided that I wanted those sunglasses. I had convinced myself, even though they were more money in America with the exchange and the tax, I was like, YOLO, abundance. I'm going to win this money anyways. The universe is testing me to see if I'm actually going to buy these sunglasses because they were a pretty penny. And I was like, and I know I probably have to buy the sunglasses before I win my big money on the slot machines. So I said I wanted to buy the glasses at the Bellagio. So we were walking through the Bellagio one night just quickly, and I saw the store. And instantly my gut said to me, they don't have the sunglasses. So then the whole third day, I was worried that we would get to the Bellagio. It was going to be our last hotel that we were walking through, and they wouldn't have the sunglasses. And it was going to be too late because we had to make it to a show. And then the next day we were leaving. And I was like, what if I built up all this hype, decided to get the sunglasses. I sway tested it. Sway test said yes. I was between two colors. The sway test told me what color. Well, confirmed what color I wanted. I knew I wanted the black ones. They told me to get the black ones. But then I was like, but my intuition says that they're not at that store. So all day Wednesday, I was thinking, what happens if they're not there? And we had walked by the same designer store four times, I think, by that point. There's more of this designer store on the Las Vegas Strip than in all of Canada. At one dinner, me and my cousin got into random facts, so we were actually looked that up. Yeah, on the Las Vegas Strip, there are more of this specific designer store than in all of Canada. Isn't that crazy? So anyways, so I was thinking this all day, kind of worried every time we passed another one. And I was like, should I get the glasses here? Because what if they're not at the Bellagio? And then what if I don't buy them? And then what if this isn't going to work for my manifestations? And then I'm just being cheap. And I was like, all the thoughts that you think. So when we finally get to the Bellagio, it's 6:30. We have to be at a show and leave by 8 o'clock. So we didn't have much time. And we still had to go win the money on the slots. And we're walking by the designer store, but we had just arrived at the Bellagio, and I was like, I really have to go to the bathroom. I was like, can we go to the bathroom before we go shopping? Because I want to enjoy the experience. And she was like, yep. So we go to the bathroom, and I'm in the bathroom stall, sway testing again. Should I get the glasses? Yes. Okay. Yeah, I know I want to get the glasses. Okay. Should I get the black ones? Yes. Okay. Should I get the black ones? Yes. Okay. And then I was like, are they at this store? And I got no. And I was like, oh no. I knew it. I knew it. They weren't at this store. I'm like, maybe my sway test is wrong. So my sway test isn't usually wrong. And then I was like, but if my sway test is wrong, maybe I shouldn't get the glasses. Maybe I shouldn't get them in black. Why would I be yes, get the glasses. Yes, they're in black. No, they're not at this store. And then I said to my cousin, I was like, I don't think they're at this store. I don't think they're going to have them. So we walked in, and at this one, everyone was with somebody. So every sales associate was speaking to a customer already. So I walked in and I was like, well, I know what I want. I'm just going to go directly to find it. So we walked past the bags and then we walked past the belts, and I was looking for the sunglass section, and the security guy was there and he's like, hello. And I said, hello. Because he was the only person not speaking to someone. And I was like, I'm looking for the sunglasses. He's like, oh, they're right there. So I went to sunglasses and I was like, they're not here. So I looked at my cousin and I said, they're not here. And she says, oh, I think this is the men's store. And I was like, what? She's like, I think this is the men's store. She's like, everything in here is men's. And I was like, I looked around and I was like, oh yeah, everything in here is men's. So then we finally asked someone, we're like, is this a men's only store? And they were like, oh yes. We're like, is there a women's store? And they said, oh yes, it's just down the hall, 5 more stores. And I was laughing because I said, yesterday or 2 days ago when we walked by the store, I looked at the men's only store and I was like, they're not in here, not knowing it was men's only. I was like, then I sway tested in the bathroom. Are the glasses in stock at this store? And I got a no. And my cousin was like, you were sway tested in the bathroom? That's besides the point right now, cousin. And then it just made me have a good chuckle because I was like, my sway test was right, but I just didn't trust it. So we bought the sunglasses. Then we went to the casino where we made our $4.40 USD, but we lost it. We gave it. Someone said this to me in Vegas, and it was funny. They said, "Oh yeah, I won, but everything I won, I gave right back." So I gave back my $4.40 to the casino, but it was fun. We had a good time. We learned a lot, saw some good shows. I ate next to no food because nothing in Vegas was gluten-free, dairy-free. I couldn't find nearly anything to eat. I found 1 meal a day, and I lived off of chips and meat sticks in the room, so that saved me the money to buy my sunglasses. So I wanted to share that with you. Psychic goes to Vegas, have some fun. Dreams really do come true. Even if you're hoping for 44,000, you will get just, the decimal over a few spots for $4.40. A good laugh, a good laugh. That's what I wanted to share with you all today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. I release new episodes every Wednesday, and leave a review wherever you are listening. It takes less than 20 seconds of your time, I promise. And I really, really appreciate the reviews. They help the podcast grow. If you want to book an appointment with me for in person or in Banff, Alberta, I will leave the links down below in the show notes to book in with me. I will also leave the link down below to register for the workshop in June, Reiki and Chakras 101. Come and learn with me. It'll be so fun, a very good insight into your own energy. If you haven't already, follow along on Instagram at Medium in the Middle. It is my only account. All other ones are scams, and I will never DM you for a reading. Everything is done on my website. But until next Wednesday, Middlers, when I see you in your ears, I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye, everybody.